Welcome back to Cadwell Park. The sun is beaming through and the racing action is going to be just as hot, I dare say. It's the second race for the Bilstein Caterham 7 310R Championship. A familiar number up front. It is, of course, number 79, Lewis Thompson, winning yet again from pole position. I mean, I'm running out of things to ask you, Lewis. I mean, what is it that's different? Is there a powerful engine under there? What is it?
No, I think it's just me. I really gel with this track. I did when we was here last year, and I just seem to be going really well. And yesterday I managed to break the toe on the first lap to Pete, and then I just put in 4 or 5 really good laps where I was just a few tenths faster than Pete, and I just kept extending the margin. And at that point I just knew, just get my head down and keep focusing and going forward, and that's how I managed to do it. So
basically just very heavy right foot. Don't blame you at all. So is it the big Caterham 7s you're aiming for next season?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're going to aim to do the 7 UK Championship next year, but we'll just see how today goes first.
By judging by your season, I think you're in for a good start. Best of luck, Lewis. We look forward to seeing your career progress as they finish off their championship this time around. Number 88, Pete Walters, championship leader leading into this weekend. Pete, a familiar car in front of you. I mean, what's your thoughts coming into the second race?
Yeah, it's a bit deja vu, car in front and behind actually is the same. For being honest, I blew my engine up on Friday and I've had to put an old engine in, so yesterday the poor thing, it was lacking a little bit of power, and I gave it everything, didn't leave anything on the table. So much of the same today, just trying to get a better start, stay on the back of Lewis, try and benefit from some of that slip and put some pressure on.
I mean, with this track being so twisty, the straights aren't so long, is a power deficit less of an issue? Is slipstream just as effective here as it is the likes of Snetterton?
It's a bit 50-50 actually. There's, especially up top, sort of the faster sections, it's really power dependent. There's a long, well, it's not really straight, it's like a very long S, but it's quite a long time when you're full throttle. But yeah, it seems to have just enough of an effect.
Best of luck, Pete. We hope you finish your season strong, as they came into the season with a points lead of only about 13 points over Harry Cook, who starts further down the grid. Number 84. Hello again, Andrew.
Hello.
So starting on the second row, bit of an improvement from yesterday. How did you feel the race went well?
Yeah, I feel the race went well yesterday. Car felt good. I feel like I got good pace. Plan is really, get off the line well and try and stick with Pete and Lewis for as long as possible, and then when the tyres start to wear, hopefully be in the mix. You never know. Aim for the top step.
Awesome stuff. No harm with a bit of confidence. It's a bit warmer this time around. Do you sort of notice that with the temperature difference? I know the temperature won't be hugely different. Do you notice the difference though?
Yeah, I think we will do. So plan to look after them. I've got to go.
Yeah, he's got important things to do, does Andrew Murgatroyd. As you can see, they're heading out on track for their second race. We hand back over to Scott Woodward in the commentary box.
Thank you very much, Chris. More Caterham action on the way, and welcome back to those watching on the Caterham Cars live stream on Facebook and on YouTube. More Caterhams on the way this time, and it's for our second highest step on the ladder for the factory motorsport roster, the Bilstein Caterham 7 310R Championship, the ultimate evolution of what starts out as the original Academy car. And of course, this is the final step before some drivers, like Lewis Thompson, who's just declared that's what his plans may well be. Before this, some drivers decide to potentially move on into the 7 Championship UK ranks, and I have to say already, even though that the season hasn't finished yet, Lewis Thompson, the 420R, that's quite a tasty prospect, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always, like I say, we like to see this progression of people through the ranks, and Thompson is absolutely looking like he's thirsty to go and try that next step of the ladder, isn't he? But yeah, Pete Walters has been his absolute shadow. So interesting, Pete said that he had to change his engine yesterday, and he felt it was just down on a few beans just at the top end of and we did see him struggling to sort of keep up, but nevertheless doesn't take away from how impressive Thompson's run through the season has been. As far as the championship goes today, Pete Walters definitely needs to win with fastest lap, but even then Thompson only has to finish in sort of the top 9 positions. I think it is something along those lines. So even though Thompson is quite a long way down at the moment on points, actually by the time he finishes this race, as long as he does finish, then it's going to be strong. But obviously that's not necessarily guaranteed, is it, in Caterham racing? We always run very, very close and run very hard racing, and you heard Murgatroyd there, very keen to start making his way up, and we know Lars Hosman's always thirsty to go and try and get to the front of the grid.
So just going through the points table that you've got there then, so it's showing at the moment as, just clarify, so it's showing as Pete Walters on 286 and Lewis on 274. Can you just clarify that for me?
Yep, so that is correct, but as the drop scores come into effect. So in Caterham's we do this drop score scheme, and currently Pete Walters is dropping high scores, so he's not going to earn any more points until he starts getting above. In fact, he's dropping one score of 1, so he will start scoring points, but Wingfield will, Thompson will score more.
Just going through the grid on the screen, just in terms of who is starting where. It's a direct reflection of the result from race 1 yesterday, which saw a victory once again for the ever-present Lewis Thompson. So just to quickly clarify who is starting where. As you can see on the screen, it is Lewis Thompson and Pete Walters who start on the front row of the grid, followed by Andrew Murgatroyd and Lars Hoffman. Then it's Harry Cook and David Yates, James Wingfield and Harry Landy, Rob Keogh, who's enjoying his second weekend of racing up in the 310R ranks after he started the season in 270Rs. Then it is Douglas Christie next to him, Jeff Price and Henry Williams, Stephen Metcalf and Chris Welch, and then Gary Curtis rounds off the 15-car grid for this final race of the season for the Bilstein Caterham 7 310R Championship. Bit of an early bar for some of these drivers before they get a chance to have a look at some of the other races that are going on throughout the weekend for Caterhams. And so this really is now about the whole battle between these two. So even though Thompson comes into it 12 points behind, he's got, but he has points to bring back based on race finishes.
Every single point he scores this race, he counts towards his championship, whereas Pete Walters doesn't count 2 points back as quickly. So yeah, so basically as it works out, Pete Walters, even if he wins with the fastest lap today, Thompson only has to come in the region of, I think it's 9th place, and in a field this size that didn't look likely yesterday. But obviously anything can happen. There can, a rare mechanical for a Caterham, it does happen, or a racing incident as well. Things like that happen. So he has to keep it on the ball and ready. The best thing for him to do would be to do what he did yesterday and just show a clean pair of heels to everyone behind.
So he tried to, and as they make their way around on this formation up to get a bit more heat into the tyres, it's proving to be quite a beautiful day here at Cadwell Park. You can see the sun is absolutely shining down. It looks like it's almost the end of the day on a summer's day, but of course it's first thing in the morning. It's 11:10. But again, that sun is hanging quite low, so it's casting quite long shadows. But regardless, it's giving us some beautiful pictures, not just beautiful scenery, but beautiful shots to see in terms of some of the cars. And I'm sure that the likes of John Bright and Snappy Races and his crew will be enjoying the weather conditions. There were some brilliant shots that he took of the last round at Snetterton. We had some going into the evenings of the race when it was kind of about roughly 6-7 o'clock in the evening. These beautiful sunsets that we had towards the end of the day, when it was putting in some fabulous pictures. And so I'm certain with the sunny conditions here, coupled with the beautiful rolling hills of the Lincolnshire countryside, means that we're going to get some quite good shots, I'm sure, once again from John and his crew. Good for the photos and our cameratography, but it's not so good for the drivers actually, because in a number of places you are heading straight into that sun, and even with a tinted visor on, it can be quite awkward to see and to pick out features around you. And also we've got some sort of dark and murky areas of the track where we go under the trees, especially here down at Barn and through the Hall Bend. So the contrast between bright sunshine in your eyes and then into the shade is quite a stark one, and one you definitely have to be aware of as a driver. So they form back up onto the grid, and it's been quite a long season, of course, all the way back at May at Donington Park. It was then Knock Hill in June. It was then the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit in very mixed conditions at the beginning of July. We had Brands Hatch in August, Croft last time out in September, and now here in October. And then just a couple of weeks ago we had Snetterton, and here finishing off the season here in October at Cadwell Park. Green flag is at the back, 5-second board is up. So the red lights will come on, and now it's a battle for the championship. Thompson and Walters at the front of the grid. Who will take the 310R crown? Lights are on, and away we go. Pretty clean start. Good jump from Andrew Murgatroyd from the second row. He gets a better jump compared to Hoffman. And look at David Yates, he's at it again. He's done that so many times before. And he leaps off the line up to 4th position. Could this be the day, possibly? I wonder. It was a great start from David Yates. He's been chasing so many times a race victory. Start like that, he may well be in with a chance of potential victory, although diving up the inside, Lars Hoffman might have other ideas. They're side by side on the exit, and I spoke too soon, didn't I? David Yates is bouncing onto the grass, loses 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 places. So whatever happens, I always big David Yates up, and then he starts to trawl back all back again. So I may as well just shut my mouth and carry on with the rest of the race. Side by side for the lead. Thompson now Murgatroyd around the outside of Pete Walters. So Murgatroyd's got past second place, challenging challenging for victory, maybe this could be a chance Murgatroyd can get himself back to the top step since his academy days.
Yeah, he sounded keen, didn't he, when he was in his car just then, to try and move forward, and showing it in the race there. He was feisty off the line and equally feisty in turn 1, but he is down in 3rd place at the moment. Walters still holding on to that 2nd, and Thompson out front, as is usual for this night. And I think at Wingfield they're dropping into sort of 5th place again. He is in the championship battle for 3rd place between him and Harry Cook, so keep an eye out for those two and how they're getting on, as well as some drivers that sort of fell back a little bit yesterday and will want to make some movements forward.
So Thompson leads them over the mountain then. So it's Thompson, Walters, Murgatroyd, and over the top of the crest. 4th place then for Harry Cook, followed by Lars Hockman 5th, Wingfield 6th. It's then Rob Keir up to 7th place, I think it is. It looks like Rob Keir might be up to 7th, where he was in 9th on the grid. So good jump from Rob then, the former Ginetta racer who's been debuting in Caterhams this year. I think it is Rob. So yes, it is Rob. So good stuff from him. Harry Lanny's into 8th position, and David Yates, after his rocket start, getting as high as 4th. He's back down to 9th, but I'm sure he won't stay there for very long if he can try and push forwards.
They're all going slow, Scott. Have they got a safety car?
Yes, safety car's been deployed. So we didn't. I thought they were slowing up a little bit, but I hadn't seen around the circuit initially any more safety car boards and flags. So they've really been quickly picked up by the runyourfleet.com Jaguar safety car. I haven't really said that at all this weekend. So. Because it's not had that much to do, truthfully.
So for the, as well, isn't it? We might expect around a tight, twisty circle like this to have a couple of incidents, but no, it's been absolutely very well behaved, and the driver's doing a very good job of spotting all those boards, certainly before we did. So the safety car duo of Jamie Firth and Tony Apsion at the wheel of the runyourfleet.com Jaguar safety car. Again, Run Your Fleet are very valued supporters and partners of the BRSCC this year, and as part of their support, they are providing the use of this wonderful Jaguar safety car for the club for their race events. So you've seen it whenever there has been a mishap or two or trouble. The safety car has been out in action to bunch the pack up, and massive thank you to runyourfleet.com. Do go and check them out if you have a company that has any kind of vehicle fleet management needs. They can certainly help you out. They've got a full range of different services they can do, from looking after cars, full fleet management and telematic services, and all sorts of insurance options and all sorts of things. Do go and check them out. And I have to say big congratulations to one of their ambassadors, Darren Turner, who has not only been an advocate for them for the last couple of seasons, but also was able to wrap up the GT4 Pro-Am title alongside former Caterham racer Matt Topham, who is now one half of the Pro-Am GT4 British GT champion. So just proves that, amongst other things, that whilst there was a link there between, I guess, Run Your Fleet and Caterham, not only can Darren Turner pedal Aston Martin pretty quickly, but as proven by some of their exploits in Caterhams, Matt's a pretty decent driver too. Not seeing Doug Christie on our tower. I wonder whether Doug's the one that's gone missing from the list. I was trying to look for who was missing out of that queue, and I can't see Doug on the list. So that'd be he's had such a great season so far, Doug. He's really come on this season and put some really good performances in, but unfortunately it doesn't look like he's in that train of cars right now, unless he's just got a missing transponder. But at the moment, that's the car that I can't find.
Yeah, that's the game I usually like to play when there was an instant where you spot the car that goes tumbling down the timing screen. So that looks like Douglas Christie, unfortunately, is the culprit. So whether he wanted to be the culprit or not, I'm pretty certain he didn't. He's unfortunately had his season come to a more of a premature end than he hoped. So, which is a shame.
I spoke to him just before the race and he said, "Don't put the curse on me," so I feel bad now. Sorry about that, Doug.
I thought for a second that was Doug, because he has got usually a black and gold car, but it looks like Metcalf's car has got, Stephen Metcalf has got a very similar coloured car as well. So I'm confident, I think your X3 Tonar's in this race as well, if I'm correct, isn't it? Is it Gary Curtis's car?
That's right, that's my 2018 championship winning car, still going strong under Gary, and Gary's had a great season as well, moving forward and looking forward to put together a championship charge next year. He's
replaced the cheese holes with Italian tricolor sort of like piping around the yellow bits.
Slightly more refined, isn't it?
Good stuff. And so yeah, he's currently sat at the moment in 13th place ahead of Henry Williams, who Henry's had a bit of. He's had times when he's been quite quick in the first half of the season, but he's had just some ups and downs in the second half of the year, and just not had some of the fortunes and had a couple of mishaps. It's not totally been all his way, but he's been up there or thereabouts in some cases.
Yeah, definitely, and definitely getting involved, wasn't he? So yesterday just avoided that big accident at the end there. He'd be very glad for that, and he dropped down the field, but again, we'll see him, coming back up through the field. I'm sure, at the moment he's still there in 14th, but he'll be looking to make that move back up. So he was competing with sort of Wingfield, I think, up in that kind of top end of the top 10 sort of positions.
So bunched up behind the safety car. Let's take stock of where we are then. Lewis Thompson then leads the way and is currently, it's effectively in championship champion-elect position. Pete Walters then in second place at the moment. Andrew Murgatroyd, after that good start, is in third. Harry Cook is fourth, followed by Lars Hoppen fifth, James Wingfield sixth, and it's Rob Keogh up 2 spots to seventh. So good start from the former Ginetta man. It's Harry Landy. David Yates hasn't made it much for more progress from 9th place, but he might get a chance if he can pick his way through after that really lightning start from further back in the grid for him.
He made a really quick start yesterday as well, didn't he? But he then wasn't able to quite hang on. He settled into that race log battle with Wingfield. It was to and fro, backwards and forwards, every single corner. It was brilliant to watch.
There's never a dull moment with David Yates when he's involved in a battle somewhere. He's always in the mix somewhere at some point. So, now there's the culprit. Douglas Christie's car has come to a stop, and that's at the middle of Charlie. So, whether that was, I guess one of the questions is, did he jump or was he pushed? In terms of, did he get there by himself or was he helped into that position? So, only Doug can really answer that. But unfortunate that his 2021 season has come to an end much sooner than he would have liked in this final race.
Yeah, I mean, he was obviously looking up to get good points. He came in here 7th in the championship, so yeah, that will drop him down a bit, I imagine, around his peers around him. But it's all bunching up, so I imagine the lights are out on the safety car now. Looks like that Thompson is now taken over the speed and will be leading them all through hall bends and working out when do I want to press that accelerator, take a jump.
Yeah, it's just in case anyone's new to a safety car restart. Once the safety car lights are out, which they are now, the leading car becomes effectively the pace setter. It becomes the safety car, so they decide when they want to get the race restarted, a la Lewis Thompson, who has just done it now. So he's already on the power up through Barn Corner. So with 22.5 minutes to go, the fight for the 310R Championship is on. Thompson leads them across the line to get the race back underway. So Thompson leads. It's Walters second, Murgatroyd third, Cook in fourth. And it's Wingfield fifth, and for how long is James Wingfield going to stay in sixth? Because he's got Rob Keogh all over the back of him on the approach towards Coppice Corner. Likewise, David Yates on the back of Harry Landy. So there's battles afoot already as they come up through the first few corners. Out of Charlie's, and now you can see Pete Walters is really fired up. He's not going to allow Lewis Thompson to try and run away with this easy enough. He's in the slipstream. He's getting pretty close on the run up towards Park Corner. Yep,
I've seen how powerful this slipstream is up the hill into Park Corner, and it's Thompson at the inside there. Walters looking around the outside. Can he make that stick? It looks like he might just have the run going into Chris Curve. The sweep around the outside of Chris Curve can work if you've got a bit of a momentum there, and he does make it stick. So that is Thompson now back down into second with a bit of a battle going on in third place. It looks like, is that Keogh moving up there? Is that
no, that's Harry Cook. So Harry Cook's in there in third position. So he's gone round the outside at Chris Curve, which is not normally a passing place, you see, and didn't work for Caterham's earlier on, as we saw particularly with Darryl Cresswell a couple of times. But already in this leading group, the top 9 have really quickly broken away. So from the leader Thompson all the way down to Harry Landy in 9th. Presuming that the fact that our time encounter is still yellow is possibly a legacy of just from the safety car, because we are definitely under green flag conditions. So there's Rob Keogh, ironically in the ex-Harry Cook car. So Harry Cook's racing against his own car, which might be strange for him if he sees it coming up in his rear view mirrors. But still, Harry's running a strong race so far up into third place.
Yeah, so that's important in that battle for the third place in the championship between Harry and James. So we'll plug in the numbers and see where that's putting him. But it's certainly, he's doing a good performance so far to be up there at the front.
Down the pit straight, first time again at racing speeds with a complete lap on this restart. Murgatroyd still fourth now, and here comes Lewis Thompson looking around the outside at Coppice, and Pete Walters essentially lets him have it. So past into the lead again goes Thompson. Walters in second place, then Murgatroyd in third in that blue car with the yellow stripe down the middle. Fourth for Cook, fifth for Hoffman, and the former double champion in Caterham's. He was road sport champion. Last in 2019, he was 270R champion last year, and this year moving up to 310Rs again, challenging down the outside. Walters looks for the cut back on the exit of Park Corner, but still, thanks to Thompson, manages to hold his way through. And he has previously run before, if I'm correct. I think he has run with the Speedworks outfit in the past. So I think it's even that. I'm probably thinking of Tom Grensinger, but Lewis Thompson, the young driver, he's been going quite a lot of pace, and he's certainly someone to watch out for if he does decide to move up into any kind of higher levels of maybe sports car or GT racing. Probably someone to watch out for, because he's quite a young talent. And I've always called Caterham racing kind of like the Formula Ford of sports cars, mainly because they've got very similar characteristics, not just because they're powered by Ford engines, but of course as well because they're quite small, they're quite narrow, they've got no error on them, but they teach a lot about mechanical grip, about car control, about racecraft. So there's a lot of similarities. And so if you want to go sports car and GT racing, whilst you can also go into Formula Ford, if you want to stick with just the purely sports car route, genuinely you can't really get much wrong much better than the Caterham, because they will teach you so much in such a short space of time if you stay on the Caterham Motorsport roster. And
we regularly see Caterham drivers who do go up into British GT or other Tin Top series and do extremely well. They get extremely good at racecraft in a Caterham, because you cannot escape in general, and Thompson there out front is still not able to escape. He was absolutely trying hard. We saw David Yates there looking up the inside of Harry Landy into turn 1, but Thompson was absolutely dropping the hammer, and he still hasn't managed to break Walters yet. And yesterday, I think by this stage of the race, he had got that little comfort gap. So Walters, engine or new engine or not, or old engine going back in, he is absolutely on it today.
Tell you what, with the exception of Thompson in the lead, well, for the moment at least, because up the outside goes Pete Walters into the right-hander, and likewise Thompson, I get my words, Hoffman for 4th on Murgatroyd. They both go around the outside, but I was going to say on that last lap, aside from Thompson, who set the fastest lap of the race, and also Landy, who had a bit of a rough lap at a 1:38.1, everyone else's lap times are within 3/10 of each other. That just shows how closely matched this lead pack is, how much they're all battling for position. And this is also the key thing as well, is that despite yesterday, when we had Thompson versus Walters at the front, and they were pulling away, this early stage of the race, not being allowed to do that, maybe the safety car played a part in that, but even so, this sort of lead group of 9, not really breaking up, is it?
No, and it is a 9-car battle for the lead now. You've seen an absolute, I'm not going to do the maths on how many wheels that is, but they are in one long chain of cars, and it's brilliant to watch them all flinging their car through Hall Bends. So we're seeing Jeff Price on screen, just coming around here, just into Hall Bends himself. Here's a barn, and as that lead group and gaggle come through, it's closer now than it has been throughout this whole of this race. It's really building up.
Yeah, Jeff Price, that you saw back in 10th position, who's also near as part of the coordination team for Caterham Motorsport. The side-by-side action for the lead again as Thompson once more just probably even at this point can wave to people to saying, right, come and follow me then, my turn at the lead this time. One thing I noticed, David Yates is not, he's fallen back a tiny bit from this group, but he's not really making the progress. So it seems to be on both these races, he's made really good starts, but then just when it comes to actual in the race, the pace just hasn't really been there to move his way through the front. It looks to be like a circuit that, while he might deep down like it, pace-wise, it's not really in his favour.
Yeah, I haven't spoken to him about how he's getting on this weekend, but yeah, you're right, in the racing, there's the same more battles going on here. Murgatroyd being moved backwards a bit there, isn't he, into the clutches of Wingfield. Wingfield needs to maintain his position or try and move forward, make sure Harry Cook doesn't gain any more points on him at the moment. There's only 2 points between them in for that battle for 3rd place. Harry Landy there sort of trailing along. But we saw the last lap, Harry Landy and David Yates having that battle. Lars Hoffman absolutely on the rear panel of Cook there going into Mansfield. So yes, absolutely nothing between. We learned the length of these cars very well, and we sort of utilised that in the race, but he was absolutely nothing between them.
Put his man to the back of his car then, never mind trying to get past him. That was so close, almost contact between the two of them, but Hoffman showing that aggressive streak. It's good to see him back on that kind of form again, because we missed it a little bit in the first half of the season when he had got involved in a couple of incidents which saw him lose points in the first half, a couple of meetings at Donington Park, and then he had some troubles at Knock Hill, but we kind of missed the last Hoffman of old. He would just go out there and just go and dominate a race, or get towards the front and really be out there and get his elbows out and fight for victory, and we kind of missed that a bit, but thankfully towards the end of the season here, particularly this weekend, in this race in particular as well, it's starting to be a bit more of the old familiar Lars Hoffman back in 4th place and getting up in that lead group again and finding the pace he needs. Fastest lap of the race as Thompson dips into the 36s, 1 minute 36.915 for Lewis. There's half a second gap between himself and Walters. They switch around. And we've got active points being calculated as well. At the moment, we reckon at the moment, if it stays as it is, well, for the moment at least, it's Thompson ahead by Walters by 14 points provisionally, we think.
Yeah, it's quite. So as long as Walters finishes in this front group here, he's going to be. Thompson finished in this front group, he's going to be fairly comfortable, even if Walters does win that race. But nevertheless, that doesn't stop them wanting to win this race outright. And there's some, like say, really tidy battles coming up in this top 9. And with half of the race to go, there's still plenty of time for things to develop further.
Just notice Jeff Price has caught the back of David Yates. This is now a 10-car battle for the lead now. So Jeff Price's last lap was a 39.6. But when I say that, so that the last lap for David Yates was 137.6. So I suspect on that case, potentially, that Yates has made a mistake somewhere, because look, he's sliding around everywhere there. Back in 9th place, the blue and white Caterham there, under pressure from the red and black car of Jeff Price. So I think, again, we talked about David Yates not having a great run in racecraft. He's really not satisfied with his car at the moment, is he?
Yeah, it could be anything. Could be a slight misbalance, a slight change of pressures, or just a change of setup they thought was going to work and maybe isn't working to his favour. But equally, Jeff Price came across that gap so quick that it's pretty impressive. Like, while David did fall back a bit on that lap, but also there's overtaking going on into hairpin. I think that looked optimistic. It's certainly a tricky overtake into that bend. We haven't seen one all weekend go off, I don't think. I'm sure David will have a reason for that. But again, I thought Thompson with that fastest lap was a bit ominous, but Walters is absolutely still there.
Walters back into the lead as well, as Thompson then across the line by half a second, but the strength of the baton meant that he can easily just draft past him and back into the head of the field. Now, fastest lap of the race has quite literally gone to two drivers at once. It's gone to Pete Walters and Harry Cook. We've got side-by-side for the leads. We'll come back to that in a second. So Thompson trying to get back past again on the outside on the run towards Park Corner again. As they come under brakes, Thompson's back in front once more. But Pete Walters and Harry Cook literally set to the thousandth of a second the identical fastest lap time, 1:36.732 each. And it seems to be on the timing screen, even the milliseconds past the top first three digits. Not even that could separate them, so therefore there's actually jointly given them the fastest lap of the race.
I mean, I think it's actually officially Walters because he would have crossed the line first ahead, but nevertheless, very impressive for those two running nose to tail to set exactly the same time. It feels easier for me to Thompson to get past Walters than it is for Walters to return the favour back, so there is still a balance in favour of Thompson at this point, but it's great to see that engine in Walters' car is still allowing him to keep the battle alive here. Cook doing well in that third place, and Hoffman getting involved, and like you say, it's great to see him still up here at this stage of the race, and he's always got an exuberant style, hasn't he? It's a joy to watch, and sometimes a bit, definitely close your eyes occasionally.
I have to correct myself because there's quite a few red and black cars that look quite similar. So I thought it was Jeff Price catching that caught David Yates. Forgive me, it was Rob Keir that he'd caught and passed. It was Rob Keir following David Yates. So forgive me for that one. Jeff Price is still 10th, and so I did wonder whether that difference in lap times meant that he'd sort of fallen back. They've both fallen back, but it's Yates ahead of Keogh. So Yates is up to 9th place. It should be. Our timing screen hasn't switched around on the left-hand side, so it's still showing an older set of times by the looks of it. I'll give that a quick refresh from our production crew in a second. But the leaders then come back towards the red. It's now 4th for the lead now, because you've now got Thompson with, looking down the outside, Harry Cook, and Lars Hoffman's in there too as well. So 3rd and 4th for Cook and Hoffman. So Cook is the predominantly black car with the red piping, whereas the mainly red and white car of Lars Hoffman, just the 4th car on the shot to the left-hand side, is just holding on. Down the hill they go, and Hoffman again just pressuring Cook as they come through the gooseneck and down through the left-hand side. Confirmation on screen that Pete Walters does have the fastest lap of the race, 1:36.732. As Chris rightly said, the fastest lap should be his because he set it first. Harry landed on his own in 7th place, and yes, there you can see David Yates ahead of Rob Keogh, so that was a switch around for 8th position. Over the crest. Now look at this top 6 altogether now, as James Wingfield again leaping over the crest. This is Caterham racing like we expect to see it. All 6 cars at the front of the field in this leading group, all together, line astern in one big group. And no telling at all who is potentially in line to, for certain, win this race, because truthfully, such is the situation, how close they are, any of these 6 have the chance of doing so. If one of them even just slips up an iota, he just has to take one slip from the leader and it compresses everyone else back into this group, back towards each other, and it makes it a whole lot more interesting at the front of the field. 11 minutes to go, still Thompson leading the way with Walters and Cook in 2nd place, and we think at the moment, as it stands right now, Thompson is provisionally in championship winning position with a gap of 14 points over Walters.
But interestingly, the battle for 3rd, it looks like we're on an even keel at the moment between James Wingfield and Harry Cook. I'm not sure who's got the best results through there, but at the moment it looks like with the positions as they are, they may well be even points. So again, that's really sort of building up. Wingfield now in 6th rather than he was in 7th earlier on, so that's where the extra points come from, I think.
I think looking at it, I think the countback goes as far as I think even 3rd places, because they'll have exactly the same amount of wins and 2nd places, but for 3rd places, which is 22 points each, I think Harry Cook has no, they might be equal in fact actually, so it's 4, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think they might be even in 3rd place, so if it stays as it is...
We'll let Caterham sort that one out then. We will just call this race as we see it, and we'll let that settle down. But certainly, whatever it is, it's building to a crescendo, and that's great. Harry Landy here, just tailing a little bit, isn't he? But again, sort of ahead of that Yates and Keogh battle.
remember we had the prospect of the Academy Championships back at Snetterton, where one of them could have even seen joint champions declared at the front of the field, but we didn't have that in that case. It was, in fact, titles claimed respectively for the two individual drivers rather than two in a group. Leaders then with now 9 minutes and 40 to go. Heading out of the right-hander at Barn Corner and back onto the pit straight once again. Still Thompson in front, Walters in second place, Cook still third. Then Hoffman, Murgatroyd and Wingfield for top six still. Oh, side by side. That's James Wingfield trying to go past Murgatroyd on the outside line. They almost banged wheels. And up to the left-hander, Wingfield not afraid to get his elbows out and take the dairy line on the outside through Coppice Corner. So there was a real chance there that could have been Wingfield up into fifth position. Went to see if he has the just yet. Yes, he has. So I think he was that fast on the straight. He was able to pull alongside and essentially, forgive the term, bully Andrew Murgatroyd out of fifth position and force him to capitulate, to back off and to allow him to get through. That was really gutsy driving from James and good stuff. And up the inside goes Pete Walters. Well, he's defending from Harry Cook for second place, but Cook's getting racing now. He wants to get involved in here. He might not be exactly in the championship fight in terms of being able to get amongst the top two. Doesn't stop him from getting involved, does it?
And this would solidify his top three position in the championship. So again, he's absolutely battling for that. Like you say, that outside line for turn one does work as long as you have the momentum. As soon as your car is ahead of the person you're overtaking, you can slightly pinch them towards the inside. Obviously, you can't hassle them off the track, but nevertheless, you can compromise their exit. And the outside of turn one obviously turns into the inside of Charlie's on turn two. So yeah, it's absolutely worked for other championships, and we saw that well presented there.
Over the crest, still got Lars Hoffman pushing hard in fourth place in the Motor-sponsored car. Because Motor, one of the very valued partners and sponsors of the Caterham Motorsport roster. Of course, they're entitled sponsors to the 270R Championship, as well as being a valued all-round Caterham Motorsport partner and sponsor. Now out of the Barn Corner they go, top four just breaking away now, because fifth and sixth place, now they've had the little skirmish into the left-hander. It's helped them out. Walters again betters the fastest lap of the race to 1:36.720. Seeing Henry Williams here, he's on the back of Jeff Price now for 10th position. Back with our leaders as they sweep into shot through Charlie's, this double apex right-hander, and now onto the the long back straight as it sort of it just dips and compresses at the bottom, but then rises once again as they come towards the top of the hill at Park Corner. And again, here comes Cook to the outside line for second place, and it can be done. But again, Walters is confident enough to hold the line and hold on to second place. And we backed off for a second there going into Chris Corner. And that now has given Harry Cook another incentive to get right onto his rear roll cage and try and pick up second place if he can.
As this time sort of pushes on, it's looking like Cook's pressuring Walters a bit more than Walters maybe pressuring out Thompson out front. We haven't seen a lead change, or in fact a change in the top four for quite a few laps now, which again is quite unusual going up into Park Corner. You normally see it, but we talk about that kind of settling in phase. We're coming down to the last just under 7 minutes now, but into that last 5 minutes especially, you want people to start moving. And as we said, you can only really move forward one place per lap. So if Hoffman wants to get on the podium, he's going to have to start thinking about that. We see Murgatroyd slip back. He started really well, didn't he? And he's just dropped off that pace. He's behind Wingfield now, so Wingfield moving himself up into fifth place. That could put him in a clear third in the championship right now.
Just saw there, Lars Hoffman, as he hit the curb, just how much the suspension compressed as he hit the curb. Just so how increasingly stiffly sprung these cars get, because this is the ultimate evolution where they get stiffer suspension. They've had a power upgrade. They've got about roughly about 25 more horsepower than the original Academy car. Better tyres, a limited slip diff. They've got differences that they have the windscreen, there were lights and everything else taken off, and better suspension as well. And Andrew Murgatroyd, meanwhile, was giving James Wingfield a taste of his own medicine. Pass me around the outside of the coppice, will you? Right, try this on for size. And he's having a go. Did he get through? Yes, he did. So he got him back again at exactly the same spot that Wingfield passed him a couple of laps ago. Yeah,
important. Like I say, this is important for Wingfield's championship, depending on that drop and whether they can be split or not. So he's back in that place, but he's looking up the inside, coming back to the battle in the lead. Still no changes going up there, but Wingfield does make it back through. So whilst Murgatroyd did make that stick around the opening laps, opening corners, it didn't work overall because the power of the toe down that back straight just allowed Wingfield not only to get past, but actually slingshot all the way through.
So we now head down through the gooseneck. That battle for fifth continues on, looking pretty tasty, as it is still for this top four. Just under 5.5 minutes left in the final Bilstein Caterham 7-3 Championship race of the 2021 season. It's been quite a mega battle all the way through, and the impressive thing is that despite the fact that Lewis Thompson didn't take part in the opening round at Donington Park, ever since he's then jumped in, every single race he's competed in, he hasn't finished lower than second, which is absolutely sensational. And so just proves what a brilliant young talent he is. I'm sure if he does find himself in a Caterham 7 Championship UK race car next year, he will be a very worthy opponent for all those that come against him, I'm sure, including the Stephen Nuttall and the Henry Heatons and the James Murphys of this world that are going to move up into that championship. There's Rob Keogh having his own little private battle with David Yates, whilst Thompson, meanwhile, stashes the fastest lap of the race. He picks up a 130. Well, I thought he had. I need to quickly refresh my timing screen because I thought he had. Yes, he has. 136.503. My timing screen was being delayed. 136.503 for Thompson. So he picks up another point on that way. So this now puts it back into the format of Thompson 14 points ahead on Walters on drop scores. As again, for must be the third or fourth time, Cook looks to the outside into park corner and can't make the move stick. Meanwhile, back for 5th position. Wingfield is under pressure again from Murgatroyd. You might be looking for another chance to make a move and get around him into a top 5 spot before this race is done.
He had about half a lap rest, didn't he, before having to now defend again between those two.
Now back into Mansfield once more, and now Thompson's being allowed to get away here. Now I think the Waltz is more preoccupied with having to fend off Cook than he is trying to get past Thompson here. So Walters is having to really look in his rearview mirrors. He's just twitching and moving around. 1 or 2 mishaps starting to creep in now. This is also allowing Cook and potentially also Hoffman into play here. Hoffman looking a bit racy in 4th place now. Back through the Hall bends.
It's a stage of a race, Scott, where if your tyres are going to get hot and angry, this is when they'll start. And we saw Walters struggling to control the rear end there. He just took a little bit too much in and he wasn't able to get to the apex, and then the rear end just swung around on him a little bit. Loses your momentum up a hill, which is never a good thing, so it's obviously the car has to work harder. And ominously, I was going to say last lap round we looked like we had a bit of a gap for Thompson, but now that is almost a fatal gap, I'd say.
Yeah, gap is now 1.4 seconds, and we've only got just under 3 minutes to go. So I think this may well be, provisionally, I think Chris game, set and match for the championship. Of course, it's never over till he gets the checker flag, so anything can still happen. But even so, this is certainly looking all good for Lewis Thompson at the moment. Still got to complete this lap and a couple more, I think, at least. Here comes Cook again. This is about the 5th or 6th time he's tried this. Can he finally make this stick on the run? He got alongside earlier. Hoffman's there too, and he can get through. He's done it. So Harry Cook has got into 2nd place. And if Walters can't get back through immediately, that might be the final nail on the coffin for his championship chance, I think.
And again, that's important for Cook in 3rd place in the championship. We've now, with Wingfield making his place up, but we've got Cook now and Wingfield tied on 2.56. So every single time, every single corner, Hoffman right on the tail end of Walters. Now Walters having to defend down into Mansfield. That a little lock up from Hoffman as he was right on the edge of adhesion there. But Thompson now disappearing off, and actually Cook getting a bit of a comfortable gap now that Walters has to look in his rearview mirror and protect from Hoffman behind.
So Cook then is now trying to set off up the road after Lewis Thompson now, because he's going to try hard as he can. And
I think Walters missed a gear coming out of that, and then Hoffman has absolutely clouted him. I wouldn't be surprised if Hoffman, he's burst his radiator, and that's going to be really, really dodgy for everyone driving through that. So I hope they put the slippery flags out, because that's going to be really slippery through those corners.
Well, Hoffman's quickly pulled the car off, so that's a really unfortunate. A shame for Lars Hoffman, who clouts the back of Pete Walters' car after Walters looks like he missed a shift. And as Chris mentioned, so what's be really careful now is have to watch out for the cars as they go into the Hall bends. I really hope, if there's a slippery surface flag out,
I was watching them through Hall bends that time, and while they were twitching, they weren't losing control, so I think we're okay.
Yeah. So just seen there, just past us in our commentary box position, Henry Williams and Jeff Price went through, and Jeff Price was a tiny bit offline, but nothing that really affected him too much. So hopefully, if there's any fluid down there, it's not going to affect the cars too much as they come through. I think we should be on the last lap now. A few more cars further back are also going through that complex now, and they all appear to be okay for the moment. So leaders then come back towards the final couple of corners for last time. Pete Walters is away and gone in 3rd place. Here's the battle for 4th going on between these two. Again, remember, we're still equal for 3rd place in points right now, as we've calculated it, as it stands, between James Wingfield and Harry Cook. But Murgatroyd here could be the difference maker. If Murgatroyd does get through, that could be the difference of a point or so, and that could be really crucial to decide who takes 3rd place, particularly if it goes to countback.
Yeah, so we've still got Walters there in 3rd, or as he went over the line, or did he pull off? All the positions have now changed, so we need to actually get the positions over the line for this final time. But one thing that is clear is that Thompson is absolutely out front there, clear, and as long as he can get past these slippery flags, you can see the flag there on the right-hand side being flown for these drivers.
So Hoffman did pull the car immediately up at the hairpin, so he did. That's another place gain. So it may well be. Well, he was ahead of Hoffman anyway, so that might actually that'll benefit Wingfield, won't it? Because it'll benefit another spot, won't he? Either way, work that out in a second. But what a performance it's been all year. You might have missed Donington. That didn't stop him one bit. Up to the checkered flag, and provisionally the 2021 the Bilstein Caterham 7 3-10R champion is Lewis Thompson. He wins and takes the title provisionally in fine style with victory in the final race of the season. It's second for Harry Cook, third for Pete Walters, fourth for James Wingfield, fifth for Andrew Murgatroyd, sixth for Harry Landy. And well, no, it's not actually, because it's changed. On the last lap, David Yates has got past Harry Landy on the final lap of the race. So David Yates comes across the line and pinches P6.
I spotted that, Scott, just on the last lap. They were all closed up through those hall bends when we had the yellow and the kind of fluid down. But bravo, Thompson, finishing another race off with fastest lap as well and a win. So what a great performance this year.
But your calculations, because Wingfield picked up another spot by the fact that Hoffman retired, we think it actually has given Wingfield third place by a point.
Yeah, so there's provisional, and we'll double check it, but nevertheless, provisionally, it looks like Wingfield may well have got that third thing. But what a racer Thompson has proved to be this season.
It's just stress. He missed the first round of Donington Park. Then ever since then, he has not finished lower than second every single race since then. From Knockhill all the way through to all the way through to Croft, that's 4 race weekends. He won 8 races on the bounce, and he won 2 more this weekend. That's 10 for the season. Despite the fact missing the first few races at the Donington Park, he still takes 10 wins and 2 second places. No wonder he's the champion. That's a brilliant drive from Lewis Thompson. And if his next move is into the top line Caterham 7 Championship UK, I think everyone else in that series in races next year better watch out, because he'll be quite a dark horse to move into that. There'll be a period of transition to get used to the slick tyres, but I think once he switches those on, he's going to be deadly next year. So, results then for the final race of the season for the Bilstein Caterham 7 3-10R Championship. The provisional champion Lewis Thompson takes victory to seal the deal from Harry Cook in second place, Pete Walters in third, James Wingfield snatches, we think, third place in points with fourth, ahead of Andrew Murgatroyd and David Yates, who pickpockets Harry Landy for sixth, then Landy, followed by Keogh, Williams and Price, then Welch, Metcalfe and Curtis, with Hoffman and Christie sadly retiring from the race.